Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. Sorry, running a couple minutes late. We had just little Zoom technical issues. Zoom and Facebook link is not working today. So maybe there's just some other Zoom issues that are going on right today. It's September 12th, 2023. Please note this event is being recorded. It's currently not live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them into the chat window. For those watching, well, nobody's watching on Facebook. Also, remember that the chat window is also a great way for you to connect with everybody else who's on the call here. So if you'd like to put in your contact information, please do that and reach out to everybody on the call today and expand your connections. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. We've got a great session coming up this Friday. I'll tell you about it at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. You'll hear more about that also at the end of the session. Remember, your LinkedIn profile, your resume are not going to get you a job. What's going to get you a job is how well you practice your interviewing skills. So please reach out to dallaspicrew.com for more information. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate through on a monthly basis. Today, our speaker is VandeMotter. He's a retained search executive. He works at Linked Executive Search, and he's going to tell us all about LinkedIn. So, Kurt, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Sorry for the delay. I had a hard time getting in myself, so I'm glad I could get in and we could conduct this meeting today. My allergies kicked in today. I don't know if anybody else on this call has got allergy issues, but I woke up this morning and I've been taking my allergy pills every day because I knew it was coming, but it hit me this morning. So Jeff, we're going to talk about a lot of things, but one of the things I wanted to reinforce was one of the things that you started with earlier, and that was that a great way for people to network is to look at the other attendees and there's possible connections there. I'm a big believer in that, Jeff, and I think that accountability groups for people that are on this call or something that if you're not a part of one today, you should consider looking at joining one. And an accountability group is nothing more than 2 or 3 other executives that are sometimes seeking the same opportunities, and sometimes they're executives in slightly different fields. But the whole objective is that every week they get together and they talk about what did you do last week? What can I help you with? What issues did you come into? Where did you go for networking this week? What can I learn from your mistakes? And even if these 2 people have the same path, they may be HR executives, that's okay, because our goal is that there's going to be jobs that executive 1 isn't qualified for or doesn't want, that executive 2 could be interested in. And the whole objective is if we can keep that job in Dallas instead of having somebody from California come in, then that's certainly a bonus for our community. So I'm a big believer in accountability groups and people finding other people that do what you do to network, because you can only have one set of eyes on the market and what's going on. And there may be some great opportunities you're overseeing because you're just not looking in the right place, or you're looking in different places. So again, huge believer in that. So when I start these meetings, one of the things I always encourage people is if you've got a question, even if it's a question just because you've got a recruiter here on the phone that you want to ask a question to, anytime during this call, just put those notes out there. And Jeff is my wingman, and he keeps an eye on that to make sure that we're staying on schedule, but we're also answering everybody's questions. I tell people that I'm not here for myself today. I'm here for you, for everybody on this call. And if I can answer one question or help you overcome one concern that you've got, that's power for me, because I've got knowledge and experience because I talk to hiring managers every day. But I'm here working for you today. This is not about me. I'm here to help you in any way I can. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk today about LinkedIn Recruiter and how recruiters use this particular product to help open up their network and to identify candidates that they want to talk to. You know, there were meetings 20 years ago that I would go to, 15 years ago that I'd go to, and people didn't even know what LinkedIn was. But I think everybody on the call today is pretty familiar with LinkedIn. And if you're not, then this is a place to learn. And if I can't teach you what you need to learn today, then Jeff's got other seminars that he's taped that you can go look at as well. Just a brief about me, and that's not because I'm here to put a commercial up, but maybe it demonstrates a little bit of the credibility and why I feel like this is a good subject for me to address and talk to you all about. I'm like many of you. I came out of corporate America. I was with the Pepsi-Cola company for the first 10 years of my career, and then I was recruited by Dr. Pepper 7 Up, and they brought me to Dallas. And then I pivoted after 8 years and went to work for Craig McCaw, which then became the AT&T company. Stayed there for about three years, opened a bunch of retail stores, and then I pivoted into a startup technology company. 16 years ago, at the age of 49 years old, I got a call from my boss. I was on vacation with my family in Wyoming, and my boss called me and she said that I'm sorry, but I've eliminated your job. Stay on vacation as long as you want. When you get back to Dallas, go negotiate your severance package with HR. Um, so um, when I did, I came back and I only made one call while I was out, and that was to a friend of mine that was in the recruiting business, and he owned a recruiting business in Galena, Illinois. And I had commuted to Chicago for 4 years. I didn't want to go up there on a commuting basis. I had kids in high school, and there was no way I was going to relocate up there. So I passed on the opportunity and came back to Dallas and started my own business. And so 16 years, I've been a retained search executive. And I think this is a great time, Jeff, for us to share a little bit about the difference between the different kinds of recruiters that there are out there. Because when you know what kind of recruiter you're talking to, it will just help your communication and you'll have even more confidence to tell the story that you want to tell that recruiter. So there's nothing wrong with, and I'll put it up front, there's nothing wrong with asking somebody that calls you that indicates they're a recruiter for you to indicate or for you to ask them, could you tell me, do you work for the company? Are you an in-house recruiter? Are you an outside recruiter? So let's start with internal recruiters. That's the first recruiter. And internal recruiters, I use AT&T as an example. It's an exaggeration, I'm sure, but it's probably as good as any. AT&T probably has hundreds of recruiters, and they've got people that are recruiting for their retail stores. They've got people that are recruiting for their technology sector, their cell sites, marketing, headquarters, all kinds of different roles they're recruiting for. And in any given time in some of these major organizations, any one of those recruiters can have anywhere from 25 to 50 job recs open. Now, in a case where a recruiting manager is managing retail stores, they may have 25 different retail consultants in 25 different stores. So they're looking for the same person, basically. They're just looking for them in different locations. But the fact of the matter is they've got a full plate. And so when you're dealing with internal recruiters, before you send a resume, what you really want to do is try to get as good an understanding of the job description and what the company is looking for before you just send off a resume. Because there's something I learned. I was on a panel recently. Jeff was at that meeting, and this is a really interesting observation. But let's just say that you are a customer service professional. So you've got your title on your resume as customer service manager. And the company that you're looking to go to work for is looking for a customer service acquisitions manager. Between you and I, those are the same jobs. They're the exact same jobs. They're the exact same titles. They have the exact same responsibilities. But if you're dealing with a younger recruiter, okay, somebody that hasn't had the experience of working in business and hasn't worked other than maybe in recruiting, they're 26 years old, 25 years old. They may look at your resume and say, no, that's not what we're looking for. You're a customer service manager, and we're looking for a customer acquisitions manager. You've got the ability to change your resume so that you can be in line with what the company calls their jobs, even though it's different titles. We don't want to lie about our jobs and our background, but it's okay to make that change on your resume. Okay. Um, and that may help a little, that may help with the stickiness a little bit. Okay. So that's just one suggestion. But the other suggestion is just know when you're dealing with internal recruiters, they are looking for exactly what the hiring manager wants them to find. So their level of creativity is probably a little bit more limited than outside recruiters. Um, Not always, but sometimes. So just keep that in mind. Second one is that second type outside recruiters are contingent recruiters. So contingent recruiting firms, they may work for, I'll give you an example of somebody in town that's, I believe they're contingent. They may do some retained, but Tony Bashir is a long-term name in the market and in Dallas and does a lot of technology sales and a lot of technology work. Very strong reputation, um, outstanding recruiter. But I believe that he does 90% of his work is in the contingent side. And all that means is that companies are giving Tony a job, but they may be giving that job to other recruiters as well. And the only the recruiter that gets paid is the recruiter that brings the candidate. So it's not uncommon if a company wants to conduct a contingent search, they don't want a dedicated recruiter, that they'd hire 2 or 3 firms, 4 firms, five firms to look for that VP or that director or that manager of sales or marketing or whatever it might be. Um, the only thing to keep in mind when you're dealing with contingent recruiters, they're probably not going to dig as deep into your background because it's a race to the finish line. They've got to get your resume into that hiring company before the next person puts somebody in that they might hire instead of you. So they're going to move quickly, and they don't get paid anything until they place you into a job. So um, many times, and it's not all contingent recruiters, but sometimes contingent recruiters will use your resume to help generate business. They'll send a resume to a client without your name and email and phone number on there, and they'll say, these are the kind of candidates that we're working with. And if you've got a job open like this, you might want to talk to this candidate. And so many times a company will take that hook and they'll say, yeah, from a contingent perspective, I am looking for that person. This person looks good, maybe not perfect, but send me a few more resumes as well. So just be careful. Make sure you let recruiters know that you don't want your resume used for marketing purposes. And just be ready to move fast when you're dealing with those guys. And then outside retained search executives, those are me. There's only one of us. So we get hired as a exclusivity. There's no other firm that's working on it. We get paid a retainer up front, and we get paid fees that are a little bit higher than the contingent guys and gals. Examples of retained search firms are the Korn Ferries, Stanton Chases. Some of those big firms are retained search executives. So that should answer most of the questions. Does anybody have a question about recruiters, Jeff?
I don't see anything in the chat window so far.
Got it. Okay. So the only other thing that you want to keep in mind in dealing with recruiters is that many times when candidates get on the phone with me as a recruiter, they just kind of vomit their whole life to me. And that's okay. Sometimes I'll joke with a candidate and say, we're not in the confessional right now, but you don't need to share that many details, or you don't need to tell everybody your whole story like that. But some people just feel like they've got a warm body on the phone and they want to tell you the story. But if you're out of a job and you've got some anger issues, or you're trying to get over the fact that this company you were with for 10 years let you go without any notice, take a week or two and get rid of that anger before you start your search, because you can't go into a search with any kind of attitude. You've got to have a clean mind and a clean slate, and you got to be ready energetically to go after it. So what we're going to talk about today, as I said, is LinkedIn Recruiter. This is a product that there's a number of versions of LinkedIn these days. There's a Navigator product and there's a Recruiter product. There's a LinkedIn Lite product. But the bottom line is that LinkedIn Recruiter is a product that I, as a recruiter, pay to use, and it's not cheap, and the prices aren't going down. But the bottom line is that when I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter, and we're going to go into it here in a minute and start using it and looking for some people, so you can see what I see, but is that when I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter and I look at your resume, you cannot see me anywhere. I don't show up anywhere on your radar. Okay. So when you look at that section where it says people that have looked at your profile recently, I'm not there. I'm not going to show up anywhere. And the reason is because I look at when I'm doing a search, I may look at 100 profiles in an hour. And if every one of those candidates saw that I had looked at their profile and sent me a note or called me, I'd never get any work done. So that's why there's a wall between that. So what happened was about 10 years, 12 years ago, Korn Ferry, one of the largest retained search firms in the world, went to LinkedIn and they said, our database is dead or out of date every day when we turn off the lights. We need a product that is more proactive. And so they partnered with LinkedIn. And so LinkedIn Recruiter is a separate set of APIs that sits on top of LinkedIn as a database. So you've got this LinkedIn Recruiter on top of this enormous database. When I in LinkedIn, I go in through the top, and that's where you can't see me. If I happen to just be scrolling through my LinkedIn, then absolutely I'll show up. But if I'm in LinkedIn Recruiter, a candidate can't see me. So that's how the product was developed, and that's how it's evolved. As we get into the product, I'm just going to warn everybody that that this product changes by the day almost now. I was last week. I spent a bunch of time in here, and I was finding stuff that I had never seen before. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody. Is that okay, Jeff?
Yep.
And I think that we got it right here, and I'm going to share that one. How's that for?
Looks
I
great.
did good. I did good that time.
Yeah, we're getting it down pat now after a couple of years.
After a couple of years, guys. Did you hear that? And he's not kidding. Okay. So this is the very first screen that I see when I open up my recruiter. Now, keep in mind that first and foremost, you're going to see live candidates here. So if I click on your cousin or a friend of yours, it's confidential. Please don't report what I have to say. I'm not going to be negative about anybody, I hope, but I'm going to give you some advice and suggestions based on other people's profiles. And then the second thing is that you'll see some stuff that I scroll through and show you templates. It may be work that I've done in the past and so forth, but hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. So the bottom line is that LinkedIn Recruiter gives me the ability to look for candidates that I can look for job titles. Okay. I can look for locations. I can look for location types. Do they want to work on site? Do they want to work? Candidates want to work remote or hybrid? I can put in certain skills and assessments. I can put in a list of companies. Sometimes I'm working for a company. I use the example of Mission Foods. They used to love to recruit out of Kellogg and Hershey's and a couple of other brands. So if I was recruiting for Mission Foods, I might use those brands or those company names in there. Sometimes, and not very often, a company will identify a school that they really like candidates out of. An example that I would use there is probably more in the legal side of it. I don't do a lot of law work, but I've done some work for a law firm up in Kansas City. And so in order to be certified in or have your certification in that territory, I might use colleges or schools. I may try to look at schools and look at undergraduate schools that are in the Kansas City area and kids that went to, students that went to law school afterwards, because maybe they'd like to get back to Kansas. So there's a lot of reverse technology thinking that a recruiter goes into. I can look at year of graduation. We'll look at that in a little bit. If I want to look at industries, we can do that. Keywords, I can build a Boolean with a whole bunch of keywords that I'm looking for: sales, not marketing, software, not hardware. and build a Boolean, and that will help find candidates as well. I can look at employment type as somebody looking for full-time, part-time, contract, or internships. And then I can put in past companies. If you look here to the right, you can see a whole lot more that I can search for as far as languages, names, education, fields of study. Over the years, I've done some work, for instance, in the, oh gosh, food science category. Okay. Field of study when you're looking for food science people is critical because you can waste a lot of time looking at people that have got some of the acronyms, but they really haven't studied that or they don't have a degree in that. And then I can look at recruiting activity, tags, projects that I've put people in, and so forth. So pretty broad scope of what I can look for. You can see up here in the top that I've got access to, in my advanced search, about 950 million total candidates. I'm an open networker, so those of you that are on the call today, if you want to connect with me, I'd be happy to do so. Send me an invitation. Don't be offended if I don't answer it today, because I generally do it at the end of a week or sometimes 2 weeks because I get a lot of invitations. But I will get to it, and I promise I'll accept. I accept 99.999% of my invites. So let's just get into a job title. And Jeff, what do you want to look for today?
How about a product design manager?
So you can see as I start to type here, I'm pulling up, it's giving me all kinds of different names for this, okay? So product designer, now it continues to give me more, but I'm going to type in product again because I like this. Product design, engineer, product owner maybe. Let's go to product engineer. So what's really important for everybody to understand here is that as I'm putting in these titles, you may not have the title in your resume for the title that I'm looking for. And this is the difference between LinkedIn Recruiter and other AI technologies that are out there today. There's another product. Many times companies ask me, when you're recruiting, what are the tools that you use? And my son is with a company and they're in the recruiting space and technology, but they're using all AI technology. So in his world, when I use his product, all I have to do is put in product designer, and then it gives me automatically, it just loads 45, 50 other names that they find on the internet of what people that have been product engineers, what do they call themselves? And then I have the opportunity to click out of the ones that I don't want to see their backgrounds on. So you see the difference there. It's really important for you to understand that, because this is where we get into, you've got on your resume that you're a you're a customer service manager, but I'm looking for a customer service acquisitions manager. Okay. So those are different titles. And if I put in that title and you only have customer service manager, you may not show up on my radar. So when Jeff and other people you hear talk about making sure that you're syncing your resume up, or you're syncing those keywords up, that's the kind of work, heavy lifting that we're trying to get you to understand, is that you've got to use other keywords in your LinkedIn profile in order to be caught or be found by these people. Okay. So I'm willing to look at these. I can look at current and past. I can just look at current. I can look at past, not current, past. I can look into open to work. Okay. We're going to talk about open to work here in a minute. Okay. And let's just leave that open to work one on, and let's go down and find a location. What location do you want to look for this, Jeff?
Oh, I was thinking, how about Seattle?
Seattle, lovely part of the world this time of year. Okay. Seattle, Washington. You can see here, I can put in Seattle, Washington, or I can put Seattle area. I'm going to go ahead and put area in. Okay. Now we've got a very small profile right now built here, but we're going to go ahead and search because there's 2.5 million people that have these titles and live in this geographic area. That's a lot of people. I cannot look at 2.5 million people, and I've selected open to work. Wow. Okay. So this is new. This is a new look for Recruiter. Jeff and I have seen this now for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But this used to be, this open to work used to be over here on the side, and I could select open to work. Now I've got the opportunity to go say, okay, I can't look at 2.5 million people that have said open to work, but I can look at the 750 people, 770 people that are active talent. Active talent means, right, Jeff, that they have made a modification to their profile within the last 30 days. Is that correct?
Something like that. Yeah, the exact definition is hard to find on LinkedIn.
Yep. But the fact is these are people that are actively making changes to their LinkedIn profile, and so forth. So let's go back to this 2.5 million, because these are people that have said that they're open to work. Now you're going to scroll through this really quickly, and you're going to see that Tomas has got this green wreath. Nayak doesn't. Charlotte does. Tony doesn't. Half the page does not have that put on their profile, right? We've looked at 25 here. I didn't count, but at least 13 of them don't have anything on there. Let's address that subject right now, because it's always an elephant in the room. Why would a candidate put that green wreath next to their profile? You've got two options when you're using LinkedIn. You can click a box that tells recruiters that you're open to work, okay? And that's this guy here, okay? Or let's go down. That's Tony. He's open to work down here at the bottom. You see open to work, but he's not put a green wreath. He is currently, it looks like that he is through July. So he is an active candidate. An active candidate is somebody that's unemployed. They're looking for a new job. Looks like, well, maybe not. He's got this business program manager in here, current, most recent, but nothing in there. So this is probably a contract or something else. This was his last full-time opportunity. But he hasn't self-selected to put that green wreath on. And why would I do that if I were a candidate? So if you're an active candidate, you are actively looking, you are unemployed, your company has let you go, it is to your benefit to put that wreath on. And the story I tell is that, let's say that Kurt is the CEO of a company and he's looking for a new VP of sales. And I've got my recruiting team working on it. And for the next 5 days, I'm going to be out of town. But I've got this amazing admin. She's been with me for 15 years, and she knows my life as much as I know my life, and dates and everything else. Well, she's so proactive that while I'm gone, she's going to spend some time in LinkedIn. She doesn't have a license for LinkedIn Recruiter, but she's going to spend some time in LinkedIn and just scan to see who she knows in her network, who she's worked with in her network in the past, that she can find that might be of an interest candidate, that she could go back to recruiting and say, hey, Kurt might want to look at this candidate. Could you look at these people? Well, since she doesn't have access to Recruiter, she can't see that Tony's open to work. That's why you put the green wreath on, is because she knows Tony, but she's not using the Recruiter product. And so she can't see visibility. But when she sees that Tony's got a wreath on, she's like, oh my gosh, Tony was an amazing manager. I would love to have him on our team. I'm going to alert HR right now to make a call down to him. So I don't care if the executive's doing the search themselves or their admin's doing it or somebody else on the team. By not putting that green wreath on on your neck, you're really missing out on some opportunities. It doesn't have to stay there forever, and I know it can be a mind game for some people. It's like, I just don't want the world to know that. But I'm sorry, I got to be a little bit straightforward and say you got to get over your happy self and put that wreath on if you are an active candidate, because you will miss opportunities. Okay. Any questions on that subject, Jeff?
Not that I see.
Okay. I don't mean to be harsh or hard, but let's now go back to Thomas. Thomas is an active candidate. He's got the wreath on. He is a technical recruiter. Okay. I don't need a technical recruiter, but he was one before, and now looks like he's got his well, he says he's probably I don't know why this technical is up there ahead of this other one, but long story short, in May he lost his job. He tells the world that he's open to work, and he's put that green wreath on. What else can he do better? Okay. We're looking at Tony. Tony's unemployed. He's looking for a job, and he's got to find one quickly. So one of the first things he's done is he's missed a lot of space to use to talk about what he's done. He talks more about what he did back here as a Frisbee coach and a high school teacher than he did when he was a technical recruiter. And that's where the emphasis should be. But I don't want you to cut and paste your resume into LinkedIn. I want you to use the words and use the skills section as an opportunity to kind of elaborate on who you are and what you're doing. The real big key is, though, and I'm going to repeat this over and over and over again, is Tomas is really missing the opportunity because he hasn't given us his personal contact information. Okay. In the summary section, highly recommend that you are an active candidate, even if you're not an active candidate. If you're a proactive candidate, you're working today, but it's confidential that you're looking for a new job, go ahead and put your email and your phone number in there, both in the email and in the summary section. It won't alert everybody in your network, but you will move to the head of the class, because here are the only options that I've got if I want to talk to Tomas. Okay. I have no contact information. All I've got is this little button down here that says send an email. So I can go in here and I can use a template for other jobs that I've had. Okay. Or I can just start a new template. But the fact is, I can write a template for a candidate really, really quickly. Okay. And I can hit send. But guess what, guys and gals? Only about 7% of the people that use LinkedIn reply to messages. Okay. So I have, people that don't reply to messages, I can't communicate with them. So as a recruiter, if only 7 or 8% of the people that are replying to my messages, thankfully I'm a little bit higher on the spectrum. I'm up at 18, 19%. But imagine I send 100 notes out, I only get 18 back. Those aren't very good odds. So if you are a candidate and you're looking for a new opportunity, and you give me your contact information, you go to the head of the class, because I can pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, Dan, Kurt here. What's going on? I like what you've done. Talk to me for a minute and give me a little bit about your background. Otherwise, I got to wait and send an email, and I got to hope that Dan's not on vacation, or that he's not one of these guys that only replies to a couple of messages a year. So it will change. It will change and accelerate your search immensely. If you don't take anything away from this meeting today, highly recommend that you go in and put your contact information in the summary section. The other key is using keywords to describe what you do and what you've done. Many times recruiters, I'm not demonstrating it here today, but many recruiters will use this section down here, keywords, okay, to build a Boolean search. And a Boolean search is nothing more than a set of words of what we might be looking for down here in this keywords. In a Boolean search it's all done in quotes, and it's, as I said earlier, sales, not marketing, inside, not outside, and that can go on. I can build a Boolean that's got 20 words in it. The bigger the Boolean, the fewer candidates I'm going to get. But the bottom line is that's where keywords come to use. So when a company that I'm working with, I'm talking to the CEO, and he gives me a list of things that they want in this particular hire, whether it's in the job description or it's just in notes that I take, I'm always using keywords to help find candidates that are closer to the target zone than where I might be at today. And 770 or 2.5 million people, there's no way I can look at 2.5 million. I can look at 770 people in in an afternoon, but I'm screaming through it there. So this is where, when you've talked to recruiters in the past and they say they only look at the top half of the resume. Recruiters can breeze through these profiles really, really, really quick. Okay. So it doesn't take me long that if I'm looking for this product manager and I want them in technology, not in IT consulting, IT, and not where we looked at somebody that was in consumer packaged goods like Lululemon. Okay, so I can see real quick that Charlotte comes out of healthcare. I'm not looking for a healthcare person. Okay, so I'm probably going to breeze right past Charlotte unless there's some keywords of something that she's done that would be a reason for me to want to click on this profile and go, okay, Charlotte, let's look and see what you got here. But here again, here's a little bit more of her summary. Now, she's done a pretty good job of giving us a lot of different words of what she's done. I can scroll through this pretty quickly. And unless I'm mistaken, I've already done it, and I cannot find a phone number or an email address in there. Although she's done a really good job of putting a lot of keywords in there, open to work is great. The only other thing I can do is I can send her an email like we did up here, or maybe she's connected to one other person. Maybe I know Lisa Yelvington well enough that I could reach out to Lisa because I'm connected to her, and I can see that that she is in Washington. I've got her email address. I can send her a quick note and say, hey, Lisa, I see that you're connected to Charlotte. Would you consider making an introduction for me? I'm looking to fill this particular job, and I think that she might be a really good fit for it. I lost my screen. Go back to that one. Okay, so here we come back into Recruiter again. You've seen all this advanced stuff. We're back up here. We're doing a product manager.
There was a product design manager listed.
Product design engineer, product design manager.
Well, go if you go a little bit farther down, it said product design manager a little bit farther down. That may help narrow the product design. I think you have to start typing design. There we go.
Right there. Okay. So now only 290,000 people.
We're that's
okay. Number came down dramatically.
Yeah, but that's still nationwide.
Yeah, and it's still exact. Okay, so we're nationwide. If we go down here and we put in Seattle, then it'll come down dramatically. Okay, so now we got a new set of candidates to look at, and probably more on target from what we were looking at because we're going to see more software people, technology information. But the point is, I can scroll through these really, really quick, and if I can't get connected with them because they don't have their contact information in their summary section, then I'll send them an email and I'll go, there we go. Very little bit of information. He was done, had a design at Dolly in March 23. So he's been out for a while. He's worked for some good companies. I can research companies by going in and clicking on the name. So that's how I can, if I don't know the company, I'm not familiar with it, that gives me that. Open to connect or connections, always very helpful. What questions do we have out there, Jeff?
Well, somebody said that about putting a phone number on there, they're getting, spam phone calls. I just recommended back to that person, get a Google Voice number. Google Voice numbers are totally free. That way, you're putting your personal cell phone out there. But at least have an email address on there because your preference and most recruiters are, number one, pick up the phone and call the person. Number two, send them an email outside of LinkedIn.
Right.
Third choice is doing an LinkedIn InMail.
That's 100% correct. We just like to connect with people right away. We're working, even if I'm a retained search executive, I'm working with a lot of urgency to find a slate of candidates that I can present to the owner of the company in the first 2 or 3 weeks. And so, that first round of search that candidates or that recruiters go through and in their research phase, they're trying to touch and talk to as many candidates to learn about what you've done, to learn about what you want to do, to learn about what you're being paid, to learn about whether you get to work from home or have to be in the office. All of that is critical data. We gather all that kind of information and report back to the company. I'm looking for, down in Tucson, Arizona, I'm looking for an accountant for a company. And I've been looking for a while. They finally brought in a temporary person because, quite honestly, I don't think they really know what they want. I talked to the woman that's doing the job today. I talked to the woman that's doing the job today, yesterday, and asked her about what I needed, in that skill set. And it was all stuff I already knew: QuickBooks, public accounting, financial statements, inventory control. And she said, but the one main thing that you've got to recognize and understand is that this person's going to be required to work about 80 hours a week. And I said, what? 80 hours a week? Are you sure you're not talking about 80 hours a month? No, 80 hours a week. So quite honestly, I don't know if I'll ever find anybody, because who is going to admit that they want to work 80 hours a week and get paid $60,000 a year? So anyway, there are some really hard to fill jobs out there. And it's a logjam right now because the not hiring has slowed down a little bit since earlier this year.
Can we look
Have
at
you heard that, Jeff?
Yeah, can we look at a couple other profiles and just see if
Yeah.
somebody's got a better summary statement, just to give some people an idea what to look at? Oops.
Oops. Sorry, guys. Oh, wait, here, maybe we go here. Let's go back here. We'll just cut to the chase with that and go into Seattle. Okay. And so let's click on a couple of these that maybe are, let's look at Scott's. Not a very strong summary here. Airlines consulting, he came out of Microsoft, so not a bad background, but he's open to new opportunities, but he's certainly not taking advantage of that space. Let's look at Brandy real quick. Pretty good profile, 25-year career. She hasn't been to our seminar yet, so she doesn't have her contact information in there. But a more robust profile, Jeff. You'd agree on that? I mean, she's
definitely
used the space to talk about what she's done and use keywords. People always ask me, so Kurt, where do I get all these keywords? So there's a number of places. The first place I go to is your own resume, to make sure you highlight all the keywords on your resume that describe who you are and what you've done. The second place I go to is job descriptions. Go to jobs that you've applied for and look at the skills and look at the words that they're looking for. Though, if you've done those things, then those keywords ought to be in your LinkedIn profile as well. And I used to keep a list in the back of a notebook of keywords. And when I'd go to meetings and I'd hear other executives talk and I heard somebody say something, it's like, oh, I've done that. I'm going to put that in my profile as well. I would never have thought of that. So you can't, I think in that summary section, you get 2,500 characters or something in that category, quite a few. So many of you are going to have a challenge to fill that space in itself. But those are some suggestions of how to use some keywords.
A couple questions have popped up. Dan says, do you use assessments often in recruiting? And if so, what are the common ones you search on?
I don't use assessments because assessments for me are really dependent upon the company. Um, and whether or not they use assessments. So if if the company I'm working for has never used an assessment, then I may be giving the candidate an assessment and asking them about things that the way they do things, and we haven't even given that assessment yet to our own employees. And so if a company says that they want to use assessments in their in their search as one of their qualifications, then I suggest that they pick a couple and let's go ahead and let's give everybody in the team that assessment so that we've got a benchmark to measure it against.
Okay, let's see here. Belva asked, do you value volunteer work to list?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with putting volunteer work on there, especially if if you're in transition and you've been in transition for a long time, then maybe putting some of some of your volunteer work in there would be beneficial to just demonstrate that you're not sitting at home eating bonbons all day.
Okay, Kim says, how many times should you have a keyword in a resume or profile?
As many as you want. Again, I don't think you can. I don't think you want to. If you're a P&L, you've managed a P&L, you probably don't need to put it in there 10 times, but I probably would put in there 3 or 4 times, especially if I've done it in multiple jobs, so that it gives the recruiter or the person that's looking at my profile clarity that I didn't just start managing a P&L after 22 years of experience. I've been managing a P&L for the last 20 years. So that's why that would be beneficial for you.
So Anzo asked, where do you put them at? You put them in your about statement. You put them in each of the jobs that you've done that
Yep.
so that it shows that you've done it in multiple places. Because if Kurt were to put something into the, put a keyword in there that he's searching for, LinkedIn will highlight it every place that it showed up in somebody's profile.
Yep.
Let's see here. Rebecca says, how do you use recommendations received or given?
So that's really a good question. If I'm having a really hard time searching, that can work to my advantage and maybe against a candidate in some cases, because I might find a candidate and I see the people that have given them recommendations, and I don't want to talk to that candidate, doesn't have the education that I'm looking for, doesn't have something that I'm looking for. And so I'll call the person that recommended them and say, hey, I'm looking for the person that does this, this, and this. They're likely to say, well, Jack is somebody you need to talk to. Yeah, I look at Jack's profile. It's not exactly, I'm more looking for this person. So it may be a way for me as a recruiter to get new candidates and more candidates. I don't look at that section as a plus or a minus against a candidate, whether they've got a number of references or no references. To me, that's not that important. Especially keep in mind that the mentality of a recruiter, okay, is that when we get an assignment, we want to try to build as big a funnel as we possibly can. We want to try to let as many people know that we're looking for this person. And so I use my network just like I encourage you to. Your network is your net worth. So I encourage you to, I try to cast as big of an umbrella as I possibly can and start eliminating candidates as we get through that second and third, fourth week. So my advice is to you as candidates, you want to be in that first round, and you want to be having a conversation with recruiters. And the best way to do that is to provide them with as much information, and the easiest ways to get a hold of you. I just can't overemphasize it. It's a game changer in today's world.
So keywords, contact information, those are the two biggies that.
Yep. And if you're actively looking, then put that green wreath around and put your ego aside. Once you get a new JOB, you can take it off again, and nobody will ever know. But I really don't know how it could ever work against you in a job search, especially in today's market, because when a company does decide today that they're going to hire somebody, they're going to do it quick. They're not going to drag these searches on for 6 months. They're going to try to do it as quickly as they can to get the right person in the seat as quickly as they can to make an impact on their bottom line. and the candidates that can be reached the easiest, and the candidates that stand out more than others are going to get the phone calls.
Well, Kurt, thank you very much. Great information. It's always interesting to see LinkedIn from the back end and how they've changed it every time. So
Every time.
it's just amazing what they do. So Kurt,
Yep.
thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate you. Have a blessed day.
Great, thanks everybody. Next Tuesday, Kurt Block Alderson, who's a career consultant or recruiting consultant, will be with us, and he'll talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies to get results. All right, if everybody will please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I use my cell phone or my computer. Something that Kurt didn't talk about is that when you see somebody's profile on LinkedIn, if you see a white connect button, don't click on it, because when you click on a white connect button, it sends that generic invitation. When you see a blue connect button, it will allow you to send a personalized invitation. If you're going to send Kurt a note, please send him a note. I only connect with people who send me a personal note. I'll connect with you, let me know, and I'll be glad to do it. Now, I do need to do a little nuance here. The blue connect button and a personal invitation only works on a desktop or a laptop. If you're using a mobile phone or the mini version like on a tablet, what will happen is the blue connect button will send the automatic invitation. You need to click on the little three dots off to the side and go to the sub menu to send a personalized invitation. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Tomorrow, interviewing Wednesdays, we will be online. We have an actual practice interview happening tomorrow. You will be able to watch an interview live. We will only record this for the candidate. So if you want to watch it, you will need to watch it live tomorrow, 1 p.m. To get to watch the candidate being interviewed. This Thursday, being the second Thursday of the month, we'll talk all about networking. Susan Lowry, some of you know her from Lee Heck Harrison, will be with us to talk about a secret weapon to simplify your networking efforts. So come join us for that presentation this Thursday. And then, as I mentioned earlier, this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, a really interesting program, the psychological impact of the unemployed. Looking for work is hard. It's hard on you, it's hard on your family, it's hard on your significant other, those people surrounding you. How do you manage that? So Carol Bouquet, Dr. Roseanne Christian will be with us. This is a pre-recorded session. So it'll, we won't be able to ask any questions to the doctor, but it's a very interesting talk about, how to think about the whole mental health aspect of looking for a job. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or Career USA LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group. I will look at your profile. If your profiles are not mostly complete, I will deny you access, because why are you on LinkedIn with a nothing kind of profile? Okay. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel only as Career DFW Facebook page. Facebook and Zoom didn't want to communicate today, so this will only be on the YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. I have over 540 videos up there currently. If you click on playlist, up will come one of 7 different playlists. Select the one you want. If you select LinkedIn, down at the bottom, you see that red arrow, view full playlist. You'll be able to go back and scroll down and find any of the presentations that you're interested in. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, join the Career USA mailing list. Just scan this QR code with your phone. It'll start a generic blank email. Just hit send, or you can just send a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You will not be spammed, but what you will get every day is the topic of the day, the title of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day. That way you can just open up the email, click on it, and you'll be able to just join us. Please remember, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All of our speakers are volunteer. Kurt volunteers his time, all our speakers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Tuesday afternoon, and we hope to see you later in the week.